Okay, schizotypal personality disorder. Now, this is one of the cluster A personality disorders, along with schizoid and paranoia. But let me give you the Wikipedia definition of schizotypal personality disorder. Okay, schizotypal personality disorder is a mental disorder characterized by severe social anxiety, paranoia, and often unconventional beliefs. What exactly do they mean by unconventional beliefs? They're talking about things such as believing in superstition, the paranormal. They have fascinations of aliens or Bigfoot, astrology. But actually, schizotypal personality disorder is much more complicated than that. In psychology and psychiatry terms, they like to use these, descriptions, calling them hallucinations or delusions, or in some cases they are, but in actuality, the schizotypal has a predisposition to see within, I would say, kind of another dimension. Now, don't laugh at me when I say this, but you understand that I find schizotypal disorder to be almost like a demonic disorder. Why is it that the schizotypal, usually the person who you see in school, that person is always usually the loner. They're dressing in all black or they're wearing sunglasses. They like gothic horror. They dye their hair. They have this fascination with, I don't know, the occult. It's not so much simply the fascination, but it's the urge. It's the desire to just want to dabble into. They are susceptible towards things dealing with the occult, particularly things dealing with the demonic. Now, I've heard schizotypals talk about seeing people or things that are not there, but I don't think these are necessarily hallucinations. I think in some cases they actually are seeing things that are there, but those things are simply in another dimension. I used to be able to see ghosts, and I saw apparitions of so-called demonic spirits. I sometimes I would have ghosts follow me from one location to the other. Now, this stuff happened all the way up until the age of 13. I'm not a schizotypal. I suffer from schizoid personality disorder, but they're very similar. But the point is, these are not necessarily hallucinations that we're seeing. We're actually seeing things in another dimension. Schizotypals also have hard times engaging in relationships, just like schizoids. Schizoids usually are the ones that don't desire a relationship, but they do. But schizotypals, they desire a relationship, but they're afraid to engage in a relationship. And let me explain to you why. When you're gross in fantasy, when you're prone to that, it's hard for you to connect. When your brain is subjugated to function from within. I mean, I'm not talking about people who just have a hard time daydreaming, that they're addicted to daydream. I'm talking about people to where their brains are literally wired to where they have to function within a predisposition to perceive and project the world through a fantasy. For the schizotypal to think outside of their fantasy, they basically have no identity, they have no connection. Fantasy is in proxy the way the schizotypal or the schizoid connects with the world, because they cannot connect with the real world directly. We just won't connect. This is why we can't connect in relationships, because anytime when a person is engrossed in fantasy, they cannot connect in relationship. This is the danger about pornography. When someone gets addicted to pornography, I've seen married people in relationships, it ruins marriages, it ruins relationships, because once you get engaged in that fantasy with pornography and all that, you no longer connect, because everything is from within a fantasy predisposition. And this is why people can't connect. such as schizotypals, because they're always engrossed in fantasy. And plus it's the fear of rejection, because generally the schizotypal person feels very inferior because you're not connected to the real world, and when you're engrossed in a fantasy you don't feel complete, you feel depersonalized. That's the thing about having these certain personality disorders: depersonalization, derealization. You feel incomplete, so therefore you're going to feel very inferior. And in proxy, not so much that the schizotypal is simply fascinated with aliens or UFOs or whatnot. It's the fact that they can connect to these things. These things not only give them a type of escapism, but in essence, this is where their identity is associated with. Now, that's all I'm going to say about schizotypal for this video, but I might say a little bit more about it in future videos. But hope you enjoyed. Subscribe. Peace.